Emotional independence is one of the most valuable traits a man develops the longer he remains without a relationship. At first, being single may feel like a temporary phase, something to be remedied rather than embraced. However, as time passes, he begins to experience the power of relying solely on himself for emotional stability, fulfillment, and personal validation. This shift is not always immediate. Initially, there might be moments of loneliness where the absence of a romantic partner is felt deeply. But over time, he learns that he doesn't need someone else to make him feel whole. He realizes that his happiness, confidence, and sense of self-worth are not dependent on external validation. Instead, they come from within. As he navigates life without a partner, he finds himself dealing with his emotions in a more independent and self-sufficient way. He no longer has someone to turn to for constant reassurance, someone to share every thought with, or someone to help him process his struggles. This forces him to develop a stronger internal dialogue. He learns to talk himself through challenges, to self-soothe when things don't go his way, and to celebrate his wins without needing external praise. He becomes his own source of motivation, learning how to push himself forward without relying on a partner to inspire him or hold him accountable. With time, he starts to notice the benefits of this emotional autonomy. He no longer feels the urgent need to be in a relationship just to feel complete. He is comfortable being alone, and this comfort creates a level of inner peace that is both rare and powerful. He understands that while love and companionship are wonderful, they are not essential for his emotional well-being. This mindset shift prevents him from settling for relationships that do not serve him. When a person no longer seeks a relationship out of loneliness or emotional neediness, they naturally become more selective. Instead of rushing into something for the sake of having someone, they take their time, ensuring that any relationship they enter adds genuine value to their life. This independence also extends into how he handles stress, setbacks, and personal growth. Many people lean on their partners to manage their emotions, venting their frustrations or seeking comfort in moments of distress. A man who has been single for a long time learns to navigate these emotions solo. He builds resilience because he doesn't have a romantic partner to absorb his negativity or to act as an emotional crutch. Instead, he develops coping mechanisms that are rooted in self-reliance. He might turn to journaling, meditation, exercise, or deep personal reflection. He learns to process his emotions fully rather than simply offloading them onto someone else. This makes him emotionally stronger, capable of handling life's ups and downs with a level head and a clear mind. As he continues to grow in his emotional independence, he starts to notice a fundamental shift in how he interacts with others. He no longer seeks validation through relationships, friendships, or social approval. He carries himself differently, more self-assured, more grounded. People are drawn to this type of confidence because it signals that he is content within himself. He doesn't need to chase attention or constantly prove his worth. Instead, he attracts connections naturally based on mutual interest rather than emotional dependency. This level of emotional independence also impacts how he views love and relationships. He no longer romanticizes the idea that a partner is meant to complete him. He understands that a great relationship should be an addition to an already fulfilling life, not the foundation of his happiness. This perspective makes him a better partner when he eventually does choose to be in a relationship. He does not place unrealistic expectations on his partner to fix him or to fill emotional gaps that he hasn't addressed. He enters relationships from a place of abundance rather than scarcity, knowing that he is fully capable of being happy on his own. Over time, he develops an unshakable sense of self. He becomes more in tune with his own desires, goals, and emotions. He is no longer reactive in relationships, making choices based on fear or insecurity. Instead, he operates from a place of confidence and clarity, making decisions that align with his his long-term vision for himself. This independence doesn't make him cold or detached. Rather, it allows him to love in a way that is healthy and balanced. He doesn't need love to feel complete, but when he chooses to love, he does so with a full heart, free from desperation or emotional neediness. The longer a man spends without a relationship, the more refined his standards become. In the beginning, he may not give much thought to what he truly desires in a partner. Early in life, relationships often happen organically, driven by attraction, circumstances, and social influences. However, as time goes on, he starts to develop a deeper understanding of himself, his values, and what he needs in a relationship. Instead of chasing relationships out of loneliness or societal expectations, he begins to focus on compatibility, personal growth, and the qualities that truly matter to him. During extended periods of singleness, he has the opportunity to observe relationships from an external perspective. He sees friends and family members navigate both successful and failed partnerships, and he starts to recognize patterns. He notices what makes relationships thrive and what causes them to fall apart. With each observation, he refines his own beliefs about love, communication, and compatibility. He becomes more discerning, realizing that attraction alone is not enough to sustain a meaningful connection. He starts to prioritize emotional intelligence, shared values, and long-term alignment over superficial qualities that may have once seemed more important. He also gains a stronger sense of his own needs and boundaries. Without the distractions of a relationship, he has the space to explore his own interests, career goals, and personal development. He learns what energizes him, what drains him, and what kind of person complements his lifestyle. He understands his emotional triggers and communication style, which allows him to assess whether someone is truly a good match for him. Instead of adjusting himself to fit into someone else's life, he focuses on finding someone whose presence enhances his own journey without requiring him to compromise his authenticity. As his standards become clearer, he naturally becomes more selective in his dating choices. He no longer feels the need to pursue every potential relationship just because of attraction or chemistry. He takes his time, assessing whether a person truly aligns with his vision for the future. He values meaningful conversations over surface level interactions and looks for signs of emotional maturity and shared values. He becomes more aware of red flags, recognizing patterns that could lead to unhealthy dynamics. He no longer ignores incompatibilities in the hopes that they will resolve themselves over time. Instead, he trusts his instincts and is willing to walk away from situations that do not serve his long-term happiness. This refined approach to relationships also affects the way he carries himself. He exudes confidence, knowing that he is not desperate for validation or affection. He does not settle for less than he deserves, and this mindset creates a powerful energy that others find attractive. People are drawn to someone who knows what they want and is not afraid to wait for the right person. His clarity makes him more attractive, not just to potential partners, but also in his social and professional life. Others respect his ability to set standards and stick to them, which often leads to higher quality connections in all areas of life. With this level of discernment, he starts to recognize the difference between fleeting attraction and genuine compatibility. He no longer falls for potential or hopes that someone will change over time. Instead, he evaluates people based on who they are in the present moment. He values consistency, honesty, and shared ambitions. He seeks a relationship that feels natural rather than forced, one where both partners contribute equally to the connection. This mindset prevents him from entering relationships that drain him emotionally or require him to lower his standards just to maintain companionship. As he becomes more selective, he also develops patience. He understands that finding the right person is a process, not something that happens overnight. He is willing to wait rather than rush into something that does not fully align with his values and lifestyle. This patience allows him to focus on his own growth, making him an even better partner when the right person does come along. He builds a life that is fulfilling on its own, ensuring that when he eventually enters a relationship, it is a choice rather than a necessity. The longer a man spends without a relationship, the stronger his boundaries become. At first, he may not have given much thought to what he would and would not tolerate in a relationship. He may have been more accommodating, more willing to compromise on things that did not truly align with his values or long-term goals. However, as time passes and he experiences life on his own terms, he begins to develop a deeper understanding of his personal limits. He recognizes the importance of protecting his time, energy, and emotional well-being from relationships that do not serve him. Through past experiences, he has likely encountered situations where his boundaries were tested. He may have allowed certain behaviors that made him uncomfortable or tolerated emotional dynamics that were not healthy. Perhaps he stayed in relationships longer than he should have, hoping things would improve. Over time, he learns from these experiences and realizes that weak or undefined boundaries lead to dissatisfaction and emotional exhaustion. He begins to understand that having clear and firm boundaries is not about being cold or distant, but about self-respect and self-preservation. He starts by identifying what is truly important to him. He reflects on his values, his personal goals, and the kind of relationship he ultimately wants. He understands what behaviors, attitudes, and patterns he is willing to accept and what he is not. This self-awareness allows him to set clear standards for how he expects to be treated. He no longer tolerates inconsistency, emotional manipulation, or one-sided relationships where his needs are not met. He recognizes that relationships should be built on mutual respect and understanding rather than compromise that comes at the cost of his well-being. As he becomes more firm in his boundaries, he also becomes more selective about who he allows into his life. He no longer feels the need to entertain every romantic possibility just for the sake of having companionship. He values quality over quantity, seeking relationships that align with his principles rather than those that require him to constantly adjust his standards. This selectiveness does not stem from arrogance, but from a deep understanding of what he deserves. He understands that lowering his boundaries for the wrong person will only lead to resentment and dissatisfaction in the long run. His ability to communicate his boundaries also strengthens over time. In the past, he may have avoided difficult conversations for fear of conflict or rejection. However, the more he values his time and energy, the more he realizes that expressing his needs is essential. He becomes more confident in articulating what he wants and expects in a relationship. He does not shy away from discussing deal breakers early on, knowing that clarity from the start prevents misunderstandings and wasted time. If someone disrespects or ignores his boundaries, he no longer rationalizes their behavior or makes excuses for them. Instead, he recognizes it as a sign of incompatibility and moves on without hesitation. His boundaries extend beyond just romantic relationships. He becomes more intentional with his friendships, work commitments, and personal space. He learns to say no without guilt, understanding that protecting his peace is more important than pleasing others. He no longer feels obligated to overextend himself for people who do not reciprocate his energy. This shift in mindset allows him to cultivate healthier, more balanced relationships in all aspects of his life. Those who respect his boundaries naturally gravitate toward him, while those who do not fall away. As he continues to uphold his boundaries, he notices a shift in the way people treat him. When a man respects himself enough to set firm boundaries, others begin to respect him as well. He no longer attracts individuals who take advantage of his kindness or push his limits. Instead, he cultivates relationships with people who value honesty, mutual effort, and emotional maturity. His relationships become more fulfilling because they are built on a foundation of respect rather than obligation or fear of losing someone. This ability to enforce boundaries also makes him a more stable and confident individual. He no longer operates from a place of neediness or desperation. He does not compromise his principles just to keep someone in his life. He understands that the right relationship will complement his life rather than require him to diminish parts of himself to make it work. This level of self-assurance allows him to navigate relationships with clarity and purpose, ensuring that his emotional well-being remains a top priority. The longer a man remains without a relationship, the more time he has to focus on deep personal growth. When he is single for an extended period, he has the opportunity to invest in himself without the distractions or compromises that often come with being in a relationship. He is free to explore his passions, refine his skills, and develop a stronger sense of identity without the influence of a partner's expectations or needs. This period of solitude becomes a time of transformation, where he is able to evolve into the best version of himself. Without the constant emotional involvement that comes with the relationship, he has more time to reflect on who he truly is and what he wants out of life. He is no longer making decisions based on what will keep a relationship intact, but rather on what aligns with his personal vision. He begins to evaluate his strengths and weaknesses, seeking ways to improve and challenge himself. He might develop new habits, take up hobbies that he never had time for before, or even pursue new career opportunities that demand his full attention. He understands that self-growth is an ongoing process and uses his time alone to build a solid foundation for his future. Through this period of self-discovery, he develops a stronger sense of independence. He learns how to be content on his own, finding joy in his own company rather than relying on a partner to fill emotional gaps. He becomes comfortable with solitude, using it as a tool for reflection and self-awareness rather than seeing it as a state to escape from. This level of independence allows him to cultivate confidence, knowing that he does not need someone else to complete him. He finds fulfillment in his own pursuits, whether they are creative, intellectual, physical, or professional. During this time, he also sharpens his emotional intelligence. Without the emotional highs and lows that often come with relationships, he has the clarity to understand his own emotions on a deeper level. He learns how to regulate his feelings, process past experiences, and develop a healthier mindset toward relationships and life in general. He gains a better understanding of his triggers, his patterns, and the aspects of himself that need work. This self-awareness makes him more emotionally mature and capable of handling challenges with resilience and wisdom. He also invests more in his physical and mental well-being. He may adopt a healthier lifestyle, focusing on fitness, nutrition, and mental clarity. With fewer external distractions, he has the space to cultivate habits that enhance his overall well-being. Whether it's through exercise, meditation, reading, or personal development, he continuously seeks ways to improve himself. He understands that his health, both physical and mental, is the foundation of everything else in his life. By prioritizing self-care, he ensures that he is in the best possible state to take on future challenges and relationships with strength and confidence. His personal growth extends into his social life as well. He develops a stronger sense of purpose in his friendships, building deeper connections with people who align with his values. He surrounds himself with individuals who inspire and challenge him, rather than those who drain his energy. He learns the value of meaningful conversations, networking, and surrounding himself with people who push him to be better. These relationships, built on genuine connection rather than necessity, help shape his worldview and provide support without the emotional complexity that romantic relationships often bring. As he continues to grow, he begins to refine his vision for the future. He gains clarity on what he truly wants in a partner, a career, and a lifestyle. He sets goals with confidence, knowing that he has built a solid foundation within himself. He no longer operates from a place of uncertainty or confusion, but rather from a place of purpose and determination. This period of personal growth allows him to be more intentional with his time, his relationships, and his overall direction in life. Through this journey, he cultivates a sense of inner fulfillment that does not depend on external factors. He understands that happiness and self-worth come from within, not from validation or romantic relationships. He no longer looks for someone to fix or complete him because he has already done the work to become whole on his own. This deep level of self-awareness and self-improvement shapes every aspect of his life, preparing him for whatever comes next with confidence and clarity.